In case you missed it, your host Kayla Blakesley is at it again. What did she say this time? Tune in to find out right now.
I feel like for years and years and years, conservatives would say, guys, the Democratic Party is moving towards socialism. And the response was always the same. Oh, stop it. Nobody's actually trying to bring socialism to America. Can we revisit that conversation? Because Democratic socialist candidates aren't even hiding the label anymore. They're embracing it. And y'all, they are winning races left and right. Take now Florida Democrat Senate nominee Angie Nixon. She's a member of the Democratic Socialists of America. Zohran Mamdani, we've been talking about him for quite some time, now the mayor of New York City. And DSA-backed candidates have been knocking off establishment Democrats around the country. So I don't know, do we all need to wake up? Congressman Marlin Stutzman, he is in fact awake this morning, and he's joining us live right now. Good morning, Congressman.
Good morning, Kayla. Socialism is alive and well in the Democrat Party.
It really is. And Congressman, I ask this in truly all seriousness. How on earth did socialism become so cool in America, especially among young people?
It's a great question. And I would say it's moving beyond socialism. It's communism. I mean, And if anybody says, oh, it's just not happening, please come visit me in Washington, D.C., and I will show you. We can go to the House floor, and we will listen to what the congressional members say on the House floor. They're wide open about it. It's cloaked in socialism, but it's communism. And, one thing we know, and look at countries around the world, where is it successful? Communism, we all know we don't want communism, but again, it's creeping in. And I think what it is, Kayla, is there is a frustration, especially in the bigger cities, where there's just not the opportunity that people would like to have. This is where skills trades, whether it's plumbing, whether it's welding, all of these sort of jobs are actually alive and well here in the Midwest, and especially here in Northeast Indiana. Those are the type of jobs where young people are making good money. But if you're coming out of college with a liberal arts degree and you're $150,000 in debt and you think you're going to get a six-figure job and you're going to buy, the house and the car and everything that you were promised, and then you find out you're not qualified and ready for a particular job, there's a frustration about that. So I think a lot of this goes back to the liberal agenda over the years of telling, hey, you know what? We don't need you to be a farmer. We don't need you to be a truck driver. We don't need you to be a welder or a plumber or HVAC person. You need to be focused on this. Well, now some of that's come home to roost. I think it's a small group. I shouldn't say small because they're loud, and it's a growing group. But you look at most of the kids around the Midwest. I mean, I know here at home, I'm so proud of so many of our kids who are saying, you know what, I'm going to go right into HVAC, and they're making good money, and they're not interested in socialism. But it's these big cities and places where kids don't have opportunity. They're looking at socialism, especially in New York City and Los Angeles and Chicago, places like that.
Congressman, something that kind of scares me. I don't think a lot of young people actually even know what socialism is. They're just hearing free rent, free health care, free child care. And I'm sitting here and I feel like I'm always screaming in the radio, guys, the government doesn't have all this money growing on trees, right? It is your money. Do you feel like to some degree we have failed to teach the next generation where government money actually comes from? Or is this just, I don't know, better messaging on the left?
Yes, no, great point, because sadly, this last week we crossed over $40 trillion in debt. And, this is the biggest threat to the United States because too many promises have been made to people that, the government's going to take care of you. The government's going to take care of this or that. And now we're $40 trillion in debt. And we're paying over $1 trillion in interest a year, which is more than what we even spend on our military, and it's going to be the fastest growing expenditure that we have. And I think that's what's happened. Politicians have said, hey, we'll take care of your health care. We'll take care of your education. We'll pay for your housing. We'll pay for, yada, yada, on and on and on, listed. And we'll pay for your food. And now we're $40 trillion in debt because we've promised everything. And what do people do? If their needs are taken care of, are they going to go, work a little harder, make that extra dollar to make sure that they can pay for whatever they're working for? Here in Indiana, this is why, I'm so proud of Northeast Indiana and Indiana as a whole, just to be able to talk about the success that we have. We have suspended the gas tax here in Indiana since the Iranian conflict, which there's no doubt has pushed gas prices higher. But Governor Braun, Republicans have been able to suspend the gas tax for months, and has, in order to offset those higher prices, because we've had a balanced budget, because we've controlled expenses, we've controlled costs. Are there things that people say, oh, we're paying more in this, we're paying more in that? We are, and those are things that all can be fixed, and we have to, we're going to have to address those. But when you look at socialism and communism, the government takes care of everything. Well, who pays the bill? No,
right.
The rich pay the bill. That's what always the answer is from the left. Is, well, the rich are going to pay it. Well, as Elizabeth Thatcher said as a Prime Minister of England, it's like, socialism works as long as you have somebody else's money. Well, we're out of somebody else's money.
That's I've never heard that, actually, Congressman. That's a really good saying. And you know what I feel like? I feel like New York is kind of the experiment right now with Mamdani. It's like, hey, you guys want a democratic socialism? Okay, let's see how this happens and what works. Do you feel like the rest of America is also watching and waiting to see what happens with New York City?
Yeah, I do, and even though I think there's a lot of places like Los Angeles and Chicago that are almost lost causes. We had a good candidate out in Los Angeles that tried to make a run at it, but it's so tough to win in California because of their election laws and the way that they are easily able to manipulate elections. But I think it's, we are getting a front row seat in New York City with Zohran Mamdani as the mayor there. It's going to be, he's going to cap rent. He's going to, free grocery stores that are going to be run by the city. I mean, this all sounds like, Soviet Union sort of agenda, and they're going to learn there. But, what's going to happen, Kayla, is there's going to be people there that want socialism, and they say, even this didn't work. They're always going to blame somebody else. They're always going to blame the places where things are going fine and say, see, they're taking advantage of you. So they divide the country, they divide people against each other, and that's how they win. And that's why we need to stand united on American principles, on American values, and say, you know what, freedom is what wins. I was just with the TPUSA Faith this past week, and Lucas Miles from South Bend is doing a phenomenal job leading an organization of pastors. And they're talking about it's those core biblical principles that make us, free as Americans. Mm-hmm. That's why America is the greatest country in the world, and that's why every country around the world looks to America as a shining city on a hill, because it's like, you guys have everything, which we know we don't, but we also know that we are blessed beyond measure for what most countries have.
All right, Congressman, enough socialism. Before I let you go, you've got another problem on your hands. What in the world is going on between you and Maureen McFadden? For folks who don't know it, she went on social media and basically called you, her words, not mine, the biggest idiot in Washington, D.C. And you responded by saying, hey, you grew up watching her on WNDU, admired her and her brother. So what did you do to her?
I don't know. All I can think of is that it's, some sort of liberal. She just went off, and I'm like, that's the first time I've met Terry before. I grew up watching, Maureen and Terry on WNDU TV, and even as a high school kid, I was like, oh, she's kind of pretty, and then she comes out and rips me, and I'm on CNN, I'm on her channel, so it's like you would think maybe I'd get a little bit of kudos for going on CNN, but then she says I'm showing Indiana stupidity, so it must be I'm not the only one that she thinks in Indiana is stupid, but that's what the liberal left does. They're elitist. She's an elitist, and it just broke my heart that the lady that I watched growing up and thought was kind of pretty on the news at the news desk just ripped me a new one on social media.
I don't know why I think it's funny, Congressman, to hear this woman that you kind of thought was pretty back in the day. You're like, yeah, she's cool, she's fun, she was pretty, and then she's like, hey, you're an idiot. I just think that's hilarious.
Exactly. Congress, just like that. I heard that a lot from women.
Well, Congressman, as always, appreciate you just being such a good sport. Maybe I'll have to call up Maureen. Maybe she wants to come on and explain her comment. But Congressman, as always, we so appreciate your time here on the show. We'll check back in with you 1 week from today.
Thanks, Kayla.
And that is Congressman Marlin Stutzman, not only fighting socialism in Washington, D.C., but also apparently Maureen McFadden on social media. He's always so fun. We love Congressman Marlin Stutzman.
Hey, it's KB. As a show of appreciation for listening, use my promo code WOWO for deep discounts on all kinds of products at MyPillow.com. That's promo code WOWO.
Podcasts by Federated Media.